God is with you. God is with you and with all of us. And we gather here to become more aware of this presence that is always with us. And that's the whole reason why we're here, is to become more aware of the reality of God in our lives. And so we're happy that you're here. And I got a couple of things I want to mention. One is that I've started up the meditation group again. So if you're interested in meditation, we have on Tuesdays at noon, we meet in the chapel. And right now we're using the book by Anthony DeMello. It's called Sadhana, and it means a way to God. And the subtitle is Christian Practices in Eastern Form. So if you're interested in that, just come on and join us. We'd love to have you with us. Also, today is the first day that I'm going to be starting sermon dialogue. So I'll be available in the chapel around 11:45 or so. After you get a chance to get some things from the coffee hour, you can take some coffee or sweet things into the chapel, and we'll talk. We'll go a little bit deeper into the sermon and things that might have come up in a dialogue, conversation. So we're happy that you're here, and I welcome all of you. And no matter if you are a longtime member or a visitor, we hope that this is a place where we are comforted and challenged, and a place where we can grow and be transformed. And so let's stand and welcome each other by using the welcome song.
Welcome and good morning. Welcome to those of you who are here in person, and to those of you who are online. If you wouldn't mind giving those who are online a wave and let them know that we are thinking of them today. It's wonderful to see you, and I'd like to once again thank our video and sound team for allowing those who are far from us to participate in the service. Okay, I'm going to slip. I've got a lot of announcements today. So just a reminder about those blue pew pads. They are under the boxes of Kleenex. So if you wouldn't mind filling those out and sliding them on down the pew so that everyone can fill it out. Thank you. So thank you, a big thank you to the Board of Extravagant Welcome and volunteers for a wonderful homecoming picnic last Sunday, with special thanks to Lynn Neuenschwander for coordinating the event, and to Judy Long for coordinating the tent setup, and for all the volunteers who pitched in. Thank you. First Congregational UCC is holding an interfaith service at 4 p.m. today. First Congregational is located at 444 East Broad Street, if you have an interest in participating in that this afternoon. Ruth Ann Farthing, where is Ruth Ann, is teaching a CPR AED class on Wednesday, September 25th, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. There is no test. So, see Ruth Ann if you want to take the class. There is a sign-up sheet out in the narthex. There is also a sign-up genius, okay? And if you're a little leery of that, then use the sign-up out in the narthex. Are you interested in being a North Church greeter? Then mark your calendar for September the 29th. Immediately following the service, Catherine Summers, where is Catherine, will lead you in a short, full discussion about what it takes to be a welcoming greeter at North Church. Also on September 29th, immediately following the service is a bread listening session in the fellowship hall. A light lunch will be served. And if you have any questions, be sure and talk to Gail Teschner. Please raise your hand. Okay. So that is a listening session. Then October 13th marks the 5th anniversary of the baptismal relationship between North Congregational UCC and the child care. We will celebrate the relationship on Sunday, October 13th, during the service as well as following the service. So more details are to follow on that. Also a reminder, October 26th is what? Thank you very much. I won't go into a lot of detail there, but if you have questions, you want to volunteer, Joyce Phelps, please raise your hand. Thank you. And then, finally, the All-Church Family Reunion will be here soon, November 1st through the 3rd. Sign-up is in the narthex beginning next Sunday. If you have any questions, please be sure to reach out to Kim Heimlich and Chris Isaacs. Okay? And read the bulletin for any additional announcements. There's a lot going on in the next couple weeks. And as always, be gentle with yourself and with those with whom you come into contact. And this is a reminder that this is the beginning of Banned Book Week. So if you have a banned book at home and you would like to share it in our little free library out there, please bring it and put it in there, okay?
Good morning, everyone. I am so glad to be back. I have been off for 3 weeks with COVID. Reared its ugly head for the 3rd time. Anyway, everybody stand as you are able. The invitation this morning is from 2 Corinthians, verse 12, 9, and 10. And God said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness." So I am content with weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, and difficulties. Please remain standing for our hymn on number 498.
as we worship, it's important for us to assume the correct physical posture and spiritual posture. That is, we let go of our own needs to be correct, to have certainty, to have all the answers, because we certainly don't, either as individuals or a congregation. So we gather here in the mystery of God. And we acknowledge this and we find our wholeness in this. And so let's use our prayer for wholeness and then a period of silent and individual prayer. Eternal God, you heal broken lives and pursue us with love when we do not ask it and would not seek it. We confess a wastefulness of labors unaccounted by love, of service without graciousness, of opportunities not accepted. Can you make anything good of our failings, O God? Can you hold up a loving rebuke? Can you claim us when we are ashamed? Can we be deeper, broader, more understanding because of our own faltering? And we acknowledge that no matter what we do or we fail to do, that we are held in your unlimited, unconditional love, O God. And for this we give thanks and find our deepest peace and hope. Amen. we begin the new school year, we welcome all of our young people who are with us on Sundays. We welcome them to be part of what we call Sunday Journeys. And we take a minute at the beginning to acknowledge all of the volunteers and the people who make this happen, who have shown a commitment and a heart for this kind of thing. And so I'm going to ask them to come up. Sue Lothran, Tim Delamitri, Dee First, Susan Yutzi, Jennifer Johnson, Kim Heimlich, and Lori Greenlauber. Why don't you come on up here and you can stand on the steps. So we thank you for, on behalf of the whole church, to help care for our youngest in the congregations. And it takes a lot of work, and I deeply appreciate what they do. And so let's take a moment in prayer as we acknowledge this. Let's join together. Presence of God in our midst, shower blessing upon those who are called to serve our children. Help them bring joy, grace, and blessing to our children. Grant to them a sense of holy purpose, and may they feel our love for them. Amen. And why don't you stay up here? Well, I'm going to ask the chairperson of our CE board, Sarah, to come forward. And Sarah has a Bible to present, and we have one third grader this year we're going to present a Bible to. And that Lily, why don't you come up? Lily Chanel.
Lily is in third grade this year, so she gets her special presentation. Lily, we have loved and appreciated having you as part of the Just North family and community since you were very little. As you continue your growth and as a token of our love, we honor you in your faith journey and relationship with God by presenting you with this children's Bible.
Afterwards, let's welcome everybody with a handshake or a hug, and especially Lily, because we want Lily to make sure that she feels the embrace. So thank you very much, and thank you for our volunteers.
All right, if my friends will join me up here, and I see lots of them today, I'm very excited. Awesome to see you all. Have you ever had anyone in your class that maybe looked very different, a little extraordinary? You have somebody? Think about that person. Maybe somebody in your class was mean, called them a freak. It's not very nice. In our book today, we're going to meet Augie. And Augie's an ordinary boy with an extraordinary face. Have you ever watched the movie Wonder? Yeah? Okay, so you know Augie? All right, so this is the children's version of Augie. Let's see what Augie experiences. We're All Wonders by R.J. Palacio. I'm glad you guys kind of know the story. And she wrote and illustrated this. She was very excited to illustrate her own book. I know I'm not an ordinary kid. Sure, I do ordinary things. I ride a bike. I eat ice cream. I play ball. I just don't look ordinary. I don't look like other kids. My mom says I'm unique. She says, I am a wonder. My dog Daisy agrees. But some people don't see that I'm a wonder. All they see is how different I look. Sometimes they stare at me, they point or laugh, they even say mean things behind my back. But I can hear them. It hurts my feelings. It hurts Daisy's feelings too. When that happens, I put on my helmet, I put Daisy's helmet on too, and then we blast off, up, 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 up through the clouds, across the galaxy, all the way to Pluto. We say hello to old friends. From far away, the Earth looks so small. I can't see any people, but I know they're there. Billions of people, people of all different colors, people who walk and talk differently, people who look different, like me. The Earth is big enough for all kinds of people. I know I can't change the way I look, but maybe, just maybe, people can change the way they see. If they do, they'll see that I'm a wonder. And they'll see that they're all wonders too. We're all wonders. Look with kindness, and you will always find wonder. All right, I wonder if you know someone like Augie. I wonder if you have a place to go in your imagination that makes you feel awesome, like Augie did. I wonder what makes you extraordinary. Well, here is a coloring sheet of Augie for each of you guys. What I'll do is I'll put a couple over here, take one and pass it on. Okay. And then after we do that, let's put our hands together. Dear God, thank you for all the things that make us extraordinary. Help us to see the differences in others that makes us all wonders. Amen. And we are off to our first day at Sunday Journeys.
The reading today comes from Matthew 25, verses 35, 36, and 40. I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to see me. And the king will respond to them, I swear to you, as you did it to the least of these, you did it to me.
Am I on? There we go. Today I'm going to be talking again about Jesus, my primary spiritual teacher, the actual historical person, as I so often do. And today I want to talk about another seldom mentioned aspect of who Jesus was. That is, Jesus was an outsider. And Jesus thought of himself as an outsider too. In the extra-canonical book, the Gospel of Thomas, there is a very close parallel to another passage in Luke, where it says, Jesus said no prophet is welcome on his home turf. Doctors don't cure those who know them. And so Jesus, the healer and the prophet, those two things mentioned in that verse, felt the wound of being snubbed by his hometown friends. He felt the woundedness of being not accepted by his family. And he lived his life as a possessionless and homeless traveler, a stranger and a sojourner. He lived as an immigrant. And he was accused of always associating with the wrong people. The sick, the unclean, those with physical deformities, with the prostitutes and the drunks and the sinners, the so-called dregs of society. And he also identified with what he called the least of these in the parable that we read this morning. I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to see me. As you did it to the very least of these, you did it to me. A more modern word for the kind of people with whom Jesus associated and identified is the word freak. The word originated as one who is markedly abnormal, unusual, a person or animal who sometimes has a physical oddity. They appear in circus sideshows, freak shows. It's not a kind word. So what are some of the other aspects of being a freak? The meaning of the word has broadened to include someone who is shunned or laughed at, who is ostracized, an outcast. The word is used today to indicate a broad class of people who don't fit, next to whom nobody wants to sit, who are out of place. And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about people who were considered to be dirty, to be avoided, who don't fit in and who can contaminate you just by being next to them. Also notice that there is a connection between these two things, being a prophet and a healer. Jesus emanated a kind of healing and wholeness on a personal and social level. And this healing power begins first deep within himself, from his own experience of being broken and being healed himself. For Jesus being out of place, for Jesus being an outcast, made him a better healer, made him a better prophet. Jesus was rejected by his family, his friends, his own community. He wasn't the popular one with those who mattered. You know, he wasn't captain of the football team. But you know what? He wasn't there to be liked. There was something about Jesus and being wounded. The earlier Hebrew prophet talked about a Messiah, the one who was to come, as being wounded because of the transgressions of the world. He was despised and rejected, it said, by whose wounds the world is made whole. Suffering and rejection was the pathway toward his wholeness and the wholeness of others. And so today I want to focus on this. I want us to just think about this, entertain this in your hearts. We become aware of our contact with God through our woundedness, through the freak aspect of who we are. And we all have that within ourselves. Now, there's a whole school of thought called liberation theology that says that the gospel emerges from the underside of society. So, do you want to hear what God is saying? Then listen to the underside. Listen to the poor, to the dispossessed, to the exploited, to the suffering, to those who are wounded, to the freak. Listen to the voices that are ordinarily ignored. Listen to the powerless. It is there that you can hear the voice of God. There is a certain sensitivity, a particular way of seeing that enables those who are wounded to understand the gospel that those of us who are respectable cannot. There is a perspective that they are able to have. So some say, you want to hear the gospel, go to these people, listen to them, and they can help you. Now, being on the underside of society doesn't guarantee this wisdom. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to have a special grasp of the truth. But the Gospels say over and over again that it is a special place, that it is a privileged place. In one of his sermons, Jesus says, "Blessed are you who are poor. Blessed are you who are hungry. Blessed are you who weep. Blessed are you when people hate you and exclude you and revile and defame you." This is an honored place to be, a blessed place to be, this elevated status, this ability to see and to understand has something to do, I think, with humility. The voice and the presence of God enters because there's an openness. The ego and the defenses are broken down. They are stripped away. The distractions of success and perfection are gone. So the truth, the grace, the divine presence is able to enter through the wound. Through the wound. Those of us who enter the kingdom of God, who have experienced the healing awareness of the sacred, are wounded. Robert Funk, in a book called A Credible Jesus, wrote this. He said, "The invisible domain of God is populated with the poor, the destitute, the women, unwanted children, with lepers, toll collectors, all considered under some circumstances to be the dregs of society. They are the outsiders. They are the outcasts. This is the kingdom of God." And Paul knew this too, and so he embraced his own inner freak and identified, like Jesus, with the outsider in the outcast. And he said this, he says, "If I must boast, I'll boast in the things that show my weaknesses. I'm content then with weaknesses, with insults, with hardships and persecutions, calamities." Often to enter the kingdom or the domain of God is to become aware or to see the presence of God. And for this to happen, there must be humility. And one must become in touch with our own woundedness, with our essential need for transformation. But you know what? Most of the time, we run away from our wounds as fast as we can. And we disassociate ourselves from the weaknesses that we have. And we put on this front, how strong we are, how we have our act together. Those who are outcasts and outsiders are often more sensitive to this reality. And they are probably more sensitive then to the needs of others. This is no wonder that people who enter the helping and healing professions are often those who have experienced pain and suffering earlier in their lives. In the case of Jesus and many others, we see that the wound is the way. The wound is the way. The way to God, the way to awareness is by attending to the wounds of others and by experiencing and not sublimating, experiencing, embracing our own woundedness. We earthen vessels let the light in by claiming and embracing the cracks. And as I said, this is not the way of the world. This is not even the way of the church. You know, the church is probably one of the worst. Encouraging people to hold up this facade of perfection. Funk wrote this. He says, in a well-ordered society, people know their place. In Jesus' world, the very few rich and the many very poor, they all knew their places. Social stratification was enforced by purity codes, which segregates people, segregates lepers, women, children, petty tax officials, the possessed, the demoniacs, the physically handicapped, and the Gentiles. And to understand Jesus, we must understand this. We must understand the world he lived in. His very way of being challenged the way of this world. It was a social and religious world that saw the freak as impure and the wounded as cursed. Deviance from the norm was contamination, and suffering and misfortune was a sign of God's disfavor. There's an account where people come to Jesus once. They come to Jesus and they say, Jesus, who sinned that this man was born blind? Now, because this was the typical assumption, an assumption that was challenged by the very being of Jesus. Those things that deviate from the norm were feared and avoided and condemned by the religious, including various forms of different kind of sexualities that people didn't understand. But Jesus saw those differences not as sinful, not as a result of God's disfavor. The deviations, the variety can help us discover what it means to be truly human. And I want to end with this wonderful poem. Many years ago, I heard Richard Rohr speak in Cincinnati. And he shared this poem that's really appropriate here. And the title of this poem is called The Two-Headed Calf. The Two-Headed Calf. Tomorrow, when the farm boys find this freak of nature, they will wrap his body in newspaper and carry him to the museum. But tonight, he is alive and in the north field with his mother. It is a perfect summer evening. The moon is rising over the orchard, the wind in the grass. And as he stares into the sky, there are twice as many stars as usual. What is considered a freak, what is considered to be defective, what is considered to be weak, mortally wounded, is able to see twice as many stars, is able to see so much more. I believe there's a freak aspect to each of us. Most of us, it's not so obvious. We keep it hidden. But it's there. Most of us were able to pretend it's not there, but it is. But it's not something to run away from. It can help us drop our defenses and stop living out of our ego, out of our false self that we project to others. As people on a spiritual journey, we let our freak flag fly. Because embracing our inner freak and our woundedness is a pathway pathway to the presence of God, to experience the true wholeness and peace, to gaining a heart of wisdom and compassion, and to seeing twice as many stars as usual. Amen. Friends, at this time, we'll take a period of time here to hold our prayers together as a congregation. And there are these yellow slips of paper. If you fill out one of those, you can pass those to the center part of the aisle here. We'll pick them up and we'll use them in our prayers. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Do we have them all? All right. Let's join together our prayers. Gracious, loving God, you are known by many names. You are known through many traditions. We give you thanks for all of the spiritual traditions. And we give thanks for the tradition of Jesus, the path of Jesus, that helps us experience your presence more deeply, more fully, that helps us be filled with peace and courage and joy and compassion. Hear us now then as we offer our prayers to you as a congregation, as a community of faith. I pray for my sister Sarah for strength and support as she continues along a difficult path. Catherine prays be with Rowena as she heals from pneumonia. One prays for my son to find a job in his field soon. Sharon prays for all struggling with COVID and other health issues in need of healing. Lynn prays for my friend Brenda's husband is being treated for cancer, and my brother Dean. One prays for those in need, prayers that Christian can find a job soon that supports him and his 2 children. Angela prays, please pray for my niece who is severely ill and in the ICU at Children's Hospital. She has cystic fibrosis and is spiking high fevers and now suffering high blood sugar. One prays for Josh. Surround them with the love and the light and acceptance and support. Another prays thank you for the lessons learned from the homeless, the drunks, and the freaks. They are not disposable. They are worthy of love. Another prayers for Josh, who is back in the hospital. This is Ellen. One prays for our former minister, Carolyn Mann, who fell and broke her hip. And Lily prays, I hope the homeless gets food, warm clothes, and a home. One prays, bring us rain and an end to the drought. And Beth prays healing prayers for Owena, who is in the hospital with pneumonia. And Ellen prays, please waken the minds and the heart of the world's leaders, corporate and political, to the extreme crisis of global warming, so they will take the strong actions needed to save our precious home, Mother Earth. And so we hold these prayers that have been spoken and voiced, as well as those that remain on our hearts. And may our prayers not be so much ways that we change you, O God, but that you change us, and that we may go where our best prayers may lead us. We conclude by using the prayer that Jesus taught us as we say together, Our Mother and Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. And now we'll continue this morning's worship as we take our offering. Gracious God, this gift of your grace is the most important, the most valuable gift there ever could be. And so we respond to that. And we respond not just with our offering, but we respond by dedicating our entire lives to your way of justice and compassion and truth, as did Jesus, who we follow. Amen. And now as we go into this world, let's do that in courage. And may we hold on to what is good, returning to no one evil for evil. May we strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, love and serve God and our fellow human beings. And may we know that God blesses us and keeps us. May we know that God is kind and gracious to us. May we know that God looks upon us with favor, and not just us, but all people, and grants to us peace now and forever. Amen. Let's share a sign of this peace with each other. Say it with a handshake or a hug, saying, "Peace be with you." Peace.